Randy Chavez. I'm coming at you today. I don't have a tablet. I don't have anything prepared. This is just something I want to do, I guess, as almost a form of therapy. I will be talking about VeVe and Omi, so if you want to stick around for that or ask me questions about that, you 100% can. Because there is a decent amount to go over with the stuff that Reese said, with the potential timeline for exchanges on Omi, and the potential timeline for other stuff such as VeVeverse, such as Omi utility. That there's a lot of things that we could discuss, and we definitely will if you want to. But what I want to go over, at least at first, is just Matthew Perry. This is one of those things where I I don't know how old I was when I first uh, thought about this, but I do remember when I was much, much younger, at least half the age I was now, if not even younger, like early teenage years or even preteens, where I had gone on and said, at some point the cast of Friends is going to die off, and that's going to be really, really weird and sad. And I didn't think this would happen for quite a bit longer. And I know that, if you're a teenager, talking about Matthew Perry, oh, he was 52 or 54, he was in his 50s, like, oh, okay, well, it's time, it's whatever. But when you're in your 30s and when you date older women that are in their 40s and sometimes 50s, like, oh my God, that is young. And I get it, for younger kids, you're not going to think, that in their 50s is young, because when you're young, 50s is not young. And well, for me, when we were younger, anyone in their 30s, you can go, and I ran into this girl. She'll be coming on the podcast. Her name is Erica Taylor. She's a makeup artist. She has over 1 million followers over on TikTok. Anyway, when we were younger, when we were in, because we're both in our 30s, so or she's in her 40s actually, but again, for me, 20 years ago, when I was 12, if you're in your 50s, you were dead. You were just like, you were done. You were like old and you're ready to die. But then as we got older, nutrition started getting better, and people started lifting, like in a big way. People started going to the gym. They started getting a certain physique, and people just started getting healthier and living longer, if they wanted. So it seemed that some of the people that we grew up with, like friends, I remember even 10 years ago in the military, where I was in the military. So this is 10 years ago. Oh, Taco Breaks. Thank you so much for the super chat saying Randy rules. Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. Um, Thank you. 2 nights in a row. You've seen me here. Um, Anyway, there's been this big, not thing, but almost everyone my age has experienced this when they go and I remember my friend Zenobia and my friend Susan, they were watching the they were watching the original Friends series on DVD, before they were on Netflix. They were on DVD. And I remember looking at one of the first seasons, and again, this is like 9 years ago. I was in the military with my friends, and one of the first seasons that they had on DVD, the cast of Friends looked younger than I did at that time, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is strange. How did this happen? And when I go and, yes, I'm live, and when I go and I took a look at it, and I was like, I'm now older than my favorite show when I was I'm now older, or at least I look older than the cast of the show that I grew up with. And they were these cool older people that I wanted to be like, and I wanted them as my friends, and I wanted them to, and honestly, for at least me and my friends when we were younger, if we were to go see a movie, we would take on the personality of the main character for that movie for at least a couple hours, if not more. And we would go on, and so Friends was a big part of our lives back in the day when there was no internet, and a lot of people here are always, you could definitely relate. You had chat rooms, you had websites that weren't, corporatized, and they weren't like, okay, let's try to get the most clicks on this website as possible. No, like the internet back in the day was a lawless wasteland of near extinction. All the adults, all like the posers and the big corporations, like, oh, internet is a fad, it'll never be a thing. And then, it was great because websites were just creative, and they were fun, and they weren't about getting clicks, and they weren't about going and getting, trying to become influencers. They were just there to be fun and weird, and it was amazing. So, all of us, and again, that was the early internet, but we all loved Friends. The world stopped when a Friends episode was on in the 90s and early 2000s. That's what you did. There wasn't a ton of internet. Even if, again, when we were younger, yeah, at 8 o'clock at night or 8:30 at night, when this is going on, you're not really out with your friends. You're at home, and if you were lucky enough to have parents that watch this, you could watch it with your parents. If you were lucky enough to have a second TV and your parents didn't watch this, they were watching something else, okay, well, you could watch this, on your own TV or another TV in the house. At least you didn't need cable for this, because it was on like Channel 4. Um, I remember seeing a documentary one time where the cast of Friends were out in Vegas, and they were out and saying, the writers or the producers of the show was like, listen, walk through this casino and enjoy the fact that you have anonymity. Enjoy the fact that nobody here knows who you are and nobody recognizes you, because this is the last time that you're going to be able to do that. And the cast of Friends is like, maybe, like, what are you saying? And little did they know that that was the last time that they could do that. And it's very strange knowing that, again, when you watch that, it's a step back in time because it was 25 years ago. I mean, look at Jennifer Aniston. She's barely aged a day. She still looks phenomenal. She looks like, God, she looks so good still. Courtney Cox still looks good, and Phoebe Buffay looks good. Lisa Kudrow, but you know, Jennifer Aniston looks incredible. And the fact that one of them is gone, and again, he died in his hot tub. I don't think he just had a simple heart attack from old age. I think he was, if you watch that Friends reunion, you go and you look at him and you say, okay, he's had a rough time since Friends ended. He gone on and said, like, I haven't heard from any of you. You go all say, like, you try to call each other, try to whatever, but I haven't heard a call. I haven't had a text. I haven't had a call. I haven't had any contact from any of you. And it's kind of sad. Um, and I hope that the VeVe fam is listening here. I hope that the VeVe fam is taking notice that, hey, there's going to be a time that comes where big YouTubers come in, big money comes in, and the whole world will get into VeVe. And suddenly it's not just going to be this club that, oh, VeVe fam, you're VeVe, oh, you had a VeVe shirt, we'll be best friends. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, everyone has oh, you're into VeVe, okay, so is everyone else. It's like, you like baseball, okay, cool, so do I, so does everyone else in the world. That's what it's going to be like, and it's not going to be this close-knit family anymore. And I really hope that people realize that. I hope that they realize how lucky they are to be in here right now before the masses come in, because this is the time to go and say, hey, you guys are here right now, you're my family. You guys are here right now, we're in this together, we're the OGs. It doesn't matter if you came in 2020 or if you came in this year, we're the OGs right now. It's before mass adoption, it's before all the big people come in, it's before the corporations come in and they buy up all the land in the VeVe-verse, because they will do that. It's before all that. I hope the VeVe fam takes notice and they realize that, hey, and we saw it with Silicone Secure, God rest his soul. I think I have his card in my wallet upstairs. Tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us, and we have this really interesting time where a lot of us, we have some money left, we have the collectibles that we want, we have the amount of OMI that we want, and again, some like myself, I don't have the amount of OMI I want. I want 200 million. I likely won't get that, but maybe I could. A million here, a million there. I think before the end of the year, I can get up to 177, maybe 180 if I'm lucky, and then next year I might get a little more. There's a quote from Professor Ozpin from Ruby, where he says, "Time has a way of testing our bonds, but it's nights like these that keep them stronger than ever. It's nights like these are the ones that you'll never forget." And I'm not talking about like a big party that VeVe's throwing or a party that Sanjay's throwing for the gold logo holders. I mean that when something hits you to your core, like when Silicone passed away, when Pyro passed away, or now Matthew Perry passed away, and I get it, there's no Friends, there's no NBC really on VeVe yet, but it's just such a major character. This is someone that has gone on and we welcomed into our home every night for a decade, multiple decades, especially if you saw it on DVD and Netflix and whatever. And I hope that people realize that there's I don't know the whole quote. It's from Solzhenitsyn from the Gulag Archipelago, saying that the line between good and evil doesn't run between political parties. It doesn't run between classes or even, man and woman. It runs between the bloodline and the heart of every person in the world. And in the darkest of hearts, in the most evil of intentions, there's that little bit of good. And in the most pure people, in the most incredible persons you've ever known, there's always that little bit of evil in them as well. And so it's just saying that basically when you talk about darkness, there has to be light. Without light, there has to be darkness. And this type of thing, I don't know. I feel like I've been going on for a while. It's been 13 minutes already, so I will get to comments. I will get to OMI and VeVe and all this jazz. Come and ask me anything. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, we got a bunch of comments. We have Uncle Mish saying drinks. Cheers. I did break my diet tonight. I had a big cheat day. I had a lot of food. I had pigs in a blanket. I had fried chicken. I had a bunch of White Claw. So, shame on me for having that. It's my first cheat day in almost 2 weeks. I won't have one again for a long time. We had VeVe Zombie say, "Yo, what up, Zombie?" Puddin' Cheek says, "Same age when John Ritter died, I think at 54. Yeah, John Ritter. So that was another one who I didn't really know who he was when I was super young. My parents really liked the show Cheers. And in the show Cheers, obviously John Ritter was in, yeah, he was in there, or Welcome Back Kotter, he was in there as well, or whatever show that he was in before 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. And then eventually, when I think I was like 7 years old, story from John Ritter, and I think I've told this before. I had my parents took me to Blockbuster and said, "Hey, we're gonna get a movie. You get a movie too. You have a VCR upstairs. You have a television. We're gonna watch a movie, and it's gonna be a movie that you're not supposed to see. So you pick out something that you want to watch." And I remember my friend's brother had said, "Hey, I just saw this movie, It. It's scary. It's about this killer clown. It's cool." So I saw the movie It in Blockbuster, and I put my finger over the R rating. I was like, "Hey, Mom, can I get this?" And she's like, what is it? And I was like, oh, it's called It. It's about a clown. John Ritter's in it. It's supposed to be really funny. And she's like, okay, I guess you can get it. So either one of two things happened. Either my mom thought like she didn't know what the movie It was, even though it was a huge thing in the 80s, and she decided like, okay, well, why is her fingers up there? Okay, I get, whatever. She just decided, yeah, that's fine, and she was negligent. Or she saw that, oh, I see what he's doing. He's using his fingers to hold over the R rating. I know what this movie is, and he's trying to pull a fast one on me. Well, I'm going to show him. Whatever happened, whatever she decided or unintentionally decided, that movie messed me up for a long time. I still don't like clowns. So anyway, John Ritter, I love him. And then eventually I saw him again in Eight Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. And yeah, I mean, but again, John, when you die in your hot tub, you're likely doing other stuff. And for John Ritter, I loved him. And I remember, they filmed a couple episodes and then they had to film one without him, like the goodbye. It was like it was 2 episode arcs, like the goodbye episodes. Um, and I remember watching that recently too, within the last year. I watched it when I was younger, and I was like, okay, let me watch this, and because, oh, I don't know. Well, I watched it because I liked it, nostalgia, whatever, etc. Moving on. The VeVe Zombie says, "What's up, cheeks?" Stands. Is it just me, or a lot of our celebs leaving? I mean, celebs do die every year. They've died every year since the beginning of time. But in the last 10 years, people have made videos about it. Okay, well, in this year Muhammad Ali died, and this year Harambe died, and this year X, Y, and Z died. There's so many people that are dying each year, and it's hard and it sucks because you didn't have that reminder each year. Maybe you had, Walter Cronkite going and saying, "Oh, and rest in peace to this soul," but it wasn't like in your face all the time. There weren't, 30 people or for Matthew Perry, there's going to be thousands of YouTube videos tomorrow talking about him and his life and what he did wrong and what he did right, and he was just a troubled soul. And I'm not going to lie, that worries me because, Matthew had everything going for him. He was one of the most well-known people in the entire world at one point, and it still got to him. What was it? The haters? Was it the stress of being, super famous? I mean, he had money, he had fame. What? Why did he feel the need to go and commit seppuku in a hot tub? If he doesn't get life right, what chance do we all have of getting life right? It's just really hard to understand. So yeah, I don't know. Moving on. Prince always says, "Was gonna sleep. Now I gotta watch this late night masterpiece." Um, this, I don't want to say this is a masterpiece. This is just me talking here, and I'm in a new location. I'm at my friend Dan's house. He's one of my best friends in life, and I love him. He's like a brother to me. He's been on the podcast, Daniel Hardwick. He's the one that taught me about finance, and every master has to bow his head, and every great person has to go and be humbled, and he's like my older brother, and I love him, and I would do anything for him and his family. So I'm here right now because we spent the last several hours together, like we do a couple times a year, and there's a quote from Frozen 1 where Anna is like frozen. Like Anna is like her heart, she's super cold, her body temperature is super low, And then Olaf brings her by the fire. He's like, come here, Anna, be by the fire, be by the fire. You got to warm up, and I'll stay here and I'll make sure you're awake. I'm going to make sure you're not falling asleep, because if you fall asleep, you're going to die. And then Anna says, no, Olaf, you can't. You'll melt. And then Olaf says, like, some people are worth melting for. He's the type of guy I would have no trouble laying down my life for. I would have no trouble being like, hey, if there was any question of like aliens coming down or Bigfoot or whatever, be like, hey, you have this choice. You're going to die, he's going to die. I'll die every time. I'll throw my body on that fire every single time. Because he's older, he's smarter, he's got a family, 2 kids of his own, with the girl he's with now, and one, it's a step kid. And, is just a good, solid person. And there's, I know a couple people like that in the VeVe fam, but in general, there's not a lot of people like that. So, when you go to his place and he's like, come on, have a beer, have a drink, have a White Claw. It's like, okay, Dan, for you, I'll break my diet for you because I love you and I want us to have a good time. So that's what I did. So I'm going to start again tomorrow with the crazy diet and a little bit more of a rigorous workout schedule so I can start doing this more. Puddin' Cheek says, hi, Vivi Zombie. Taco Breaks, thank you so much for the super chat, saying, Randy rules. O'Doyle rules. Again, thanks for the super chat. You super chatted me a lot yesterday. You actually stopped the World Series. You turned off the World Series so you could watch me. And that meant so much. The fact that you said that, I mean, you super chatted a lot and it was great. And that obviously special place in my heart for that because you do that a lot. But when you went and said that you stopped watching the World Series for me, that meant more to me than you could imagine. And I hope you know that. And Stan saying, are you losing weight? I did. I lost about 7 pounds the last 2 weeks. I probably should have lost more, but I've been eating a little bit more the last week just to get my strength up because I lost a lot of strength when I lost the weight. So, see what happens. RPM87 says, I got a time tomorrow. Now I got to watch this. Oh, you got a tea time tomorrow. Well, I mean, you don't have to watch this. This is not, I mean, I guess depending on what people ask. Depending on what people ask, this could be centered around VeVe and Omi. I mean, right now it's not, but whoever asks, yeah, it'll be centered around whatever they want. Sven John just says, you live now, Randy? I am. By the way, you started looking at One Piece. You look very much like Landor for cosplay. Thank you. I'm trying for Spidey 2099. If I can get that as an acting role, that would be great. If not, no big deal, but I really think that would be fun. I could really do it. I can get super jacked and get super lean, whatever they would want. I think I could do it. Carlos Castrohon, how's it going? Nick Batchelor says, aloha, Randy. Aloha, Nick. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. That means a lot. Oh, God. It's a Planet Prophet saying, Ayo, another day in the life. It is another day in the life. Prince Toby says, with streaming nowadays, we'll never have moments where the world stops to watch a show. I was born in 2007, and I'm probably the last generation to grow up and see some form of cable TV. I remember in 2016, I was deployed with this guy, Snow, and Snow was from, like, South Carolina. He was a good old boy, and he didn't have cable. He like barely had dial-up, and I think that people lacking the technology of the first world, there's a lot of them, and when you go and say that I was probably the last generation to grow up and see something from cable TV, there are definitely some people out there without cable right now. Maybe not in the first world, or maybe in the first world they're just not there yet. But I guarantee you there are people out there that have watched cable TV, still. Not a ton. They're definitely the minority, but there are still a small amount of percentage of people out there. But good on you for being able to experience that at such a young age. Uncle Me says, true, we have to realize the good times are now. They are. Final Power says, oh geez. Svendana says, oh no, it's Arlong you can cosplay. Send me a link to what Arlong is, and I will see. Final Power says, I'm a VeVe granny. A lot of us are VeVe grannies. Prince always says, VeVe fam may not always be a tight, exclusive family, but the bond us OGs have, the bonds that OGs have made will stay. Agreed. There's been a lot of people going and saying like, oh, I'm an OG, and they're not an OG, but the bonds of those people that we've been here for years, we know who each other's are, so that's fine. Pat Prabhu says, our Mint Hunters group will remain OGs only and locked. Get that, bread. Prince always says, we have formed a very large VeVe drop just because a bunch of commons may come in and become the average NFT. It doesn't make all, not secret rares. We are the few. We are the first. And we are the powerful. It's like the Marines, like the few, the proud, the Marines. Anyway, moving on. VeVe's Three's company. Okay, that's what it was. The real Chandy Revez. Does anyone remember that show, Everybody Loves Raymond? That was a great show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that other people are able to enjoy it as well. I hope that the people that made the show are able to go and basically translate it, to the Gen Zers, because it's not easy to read older writing. Like let's say like Shakespeare. How many people love Shakespeare? I bet almost none of you. And it's not because you're stupid. It's not because you just didn't get it in high school or whatever. It's just, listen. Excuse me. Some of the Shakespeare proofreaders would go on and they would change out certain lines of a sonnet, certain lines of a poem, and they wouldn't tell Shakespeare about it. They wouldn't tell anyone. They would just silently go and change those quotes because they didn't, when they go silently change those quotes, they didn't check them. The going on and talking about Shakespeare, they knew that his writing was legendary, and that if they could get their piece of writing in one of his sonnets, in one of his stories, they knew that it would be studied and remembered forever. It's kind of like now where people like, give me a collab with Taylor Swift. So the girl I just met here tonight is like friends with Selena Gomez and could probably get Taylor Swift. Once I become super friends with her, I'll try to get Taylor Swift on the podcast. You'll see who I'm talking about. Yeah, wild times. So Everyone Loves Raymond is such a good show because there was one episode I remember. It was like their version of Pokemon. They were like, oh, yeah, his daughter Allie really liked Pencilmon or Penmon, whatever it was called, whatever their version of Pokemon was. And then Ray's like, my kid's into this and it's really weird, it's not, they're not real, they're cards, they're not people, they're not like baseball, they're not based on real people, they're based on these like fictional action figures, and he doesn't understand it. And then eventually he learns from one of Allie's friends' dads, his kid's friends' dads, like, yeah, my kid, buys a bunch of these stuff, but as the dad, I get a tax, and I take some of the stuff and I sell it, and some of them are worth big money. And he's like, oh, which ones? He's like, oh, this monster in particular. He's like, that's one my daughter Allie wants. And then he goes and he asks her, is like, Allie, we heard that this card that you want, is worth $100. Is that why you want it? because it's worth $100? And Allie goes to him and says, no, I want him because I love him. And he's like, oh, I was like, okay, well, you realize that, these cards are not really worth anything. They're just, pieces of paper with pictures on them. And she says, you mean like money? And he's like, okay, yeah, all right, pages of paper with pictures on them. Okay, yeah, you got me there, Allie. But the fact when he was asking her, I was like, do you want it just because it's worth something? And she says, no, I want it because I love him. For me, as a Pokemon master and a Pokemon lover, when she goes and says that, and she says that she wants him not for money, not for fame, not for fortune, not she just wants him because that's her favorite. That's a collector at heart, and that's something that's clearly it's stayed with me for 20 plus years, and I won't ever go and try to dissuade someone from doing something that they love. So everyone loves Raymond. They kind of really tapped into that, and I'm really glad that they did. Miss Bonner Prophet says Robin Williams. What? Love Robin Williams. Yeah, sad that he went too. He's one of the saddest ones. The RPM 87 says he could have died from a heart attack. Yeah, but he was most likely on something. You don't really die in your hot tub unless you're doing something. You know. Phoebe Zump said maybe the jab. I don't think so. If you're getting a jab right now, you probably got a jab a couple years ago, and if anything was going to kill you, it was going to be the first one or second one. The first one that you got. So I don't think the jab killed him. Jacob Torres says, "What's up, Randy? What's up, Jacob?" Sendon just says, "I did my garden half listening to you." Oh well, you're welcome. Carlos Castro's quick question: would the one world order even be real? Because we would have the metaverses and no one would be killing people because everyone is inside. It's more safer than the real world? Question mark? I don't know. Well, this is a loaded question. Even Einstein thought that it might behoove the world to have a supranational organization. Now, when Einstein was talking about a supranational organization to have control of the world, he didn't mean a government. He didn't mean any government agency or entity. He meant that the most scholared minds and the ones that are most able to recognize a big form of evil that government just doesn't understand. Like, remember back in the day when we would all pirate movies on Pirate Bay? Because the government didn't understand the internet and downloading and stuff like that was. So, they started. And anyway, Einstein proposed a supranational organization that had no nukes. They were just people that everyone trusted, that they had voted into this position of power, which I did not like, but it happens. But again, I don't think this is a very big threat because, as humans go and they survive, and they thrive, and a bunch of people reproduce. But any species is going to go inward. Eventually, you're not going to be curious about the stars. You're not going to be curious about other planets, orbiting those stars and inhabiting them, because you would have already gone and lived your life. You would have already gone on and done something else. Right now, yeah. So I'm pretty bullish on where humanity's going and defeating the New World Order. But again, that's just my opinion. Sandana says, are there private transports to the auxiliary party one day? Golden Sword Love Utility by other members. There's currently no bus system. It's a couple hours away from Paris. It's going to be a lot. I'll keep you all posted. Do you own a Van Gogh Pikachu promo already, Randy? I do not. I want one, but I just don't own one. Prince Toby says reading Romeo and Juliet made me really just dislike Shakespeare entirely. I'm the first person to probably say this, but the 1968 movie was better than the book. Listen, it Shakespeare is hard in general because one, a lot of it's written in iambic pentameter, and two, when it was written, English wasn't necessarily a thing. I mean, it was, but you have every word that people used was pregnant with meaning. It was just absolutely chaotic that every word you knew the root of where it came from, you knew the history of the word, and you knew why people were using it. And it was just such big deals because nobody else was doing anything like that. Um, Probably say this, but 1968 movie. Yeah, listen, Shakespeare is essentially written in another language. So you're not going to have a good time reading it. Most likely it would just be going and saying, hey, I like this for X, Y, and Z. And then, they get you FaceTime. It's better run than the book, maybe. Anyway, I feel like sometimes I'm not making sense. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to utilize the latrine. And I'm going to take a long nap. Maybe the forever nap. Who knows? We will keep you all posted. RPM said they updated the VeVe app. They did. They updated the app. It doesn't look like anything crazy, just minor fixes and improvements. So hopefully they're able to do that in the next 6 weeks. We shall see. Good night, Sven. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for the super chat. That means the world. I love you guys. The real Randy, the Chandy Revez says English is weird. It's a weird fusion of French, Saxonian, Danish, Old Britannic, Celtic languages. It is. It is a very strange language. And some Latin. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Everyone say, where's Dashie? Where is Dashie? Dashie will be back tomorrow. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Meow, meow, meow. Never mind, I'll find